Hey, I'm Paul, and welcome to Build and Bond. Today we're going to build Malfoy Manor, and we're going to bond over how much this set made me crazy. I did not really enjoy this, and I don't think you might either. But let's talk about if you're a collector. We're going to go over the minifigures. We're going to go over some cool parts usage. There's some fun play features here, but overall, it's kind of a thin sliver of what it could have been. Hang on, we'll get right into it. Hey, so it's weird to have such a strong opinion about a set, but here we go. I'm going to go over a lot of different things, including pricing, etc., the minifigures in detail. At least we finally got Narcissa, right? That's an incredible thing. We've been waiting for that for a long time. The build itself, there were some really tricky elements to it. It's not super stable in certain places when you're building it, which I think is hugely frustrating, and I'll share that with you. There is some fun play feature stuff, and there is some cool stuff on the inside that gives you some story stuff, and there's also stuff in here that, like, I don't know why it's there. Confused me. So overall, that's part of my frustration. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to see a quick speed build of this entire set, and then I'm going to come back and break it all down for you. All right? Are you ready? Let's go. All right, so let's start with what you get. You do get one single instruction booklet, which is kind of nice. I'm happy that it's all in one place. And this was my first time ever receiving it in this paper carrier. So it was not in a cardboard envelope. It wasn't in a plastic envelope. It was in this, which I think was really cool. I love this design. You also get 13 bags, and I love the fact that it's 13. It's so perfect for this set. So kudos to the designers for that. The first things that you build, as you saw, are these gates to the house, as well as these birds. Now, I had to look up what these were. They're actually not from the film. These are albino peacocks, and it's a nod to their reference actually in the novel, which I think is really cool, but it is a confusing detail if you don't know that. Here's my take on the gates. I think it's great to have these gates, but if you're going to give me a custom molded specialty piece, I don't really need the gargoyle when I could have easily had a build of the gargoyle just like we have of these peacocks. So we've had that in other sets where we've built this kind of a statue. So it seems strange to me that we would splurge on a custom mold for that tiny detail that isn't even part of the main house. Small detail, but I like the stone work on it, and I love the trees, and there were some really fun builds actually in this section, which is very cool. I have to say, these peacock heads look kind of like vultures. I kind of thought they were white vultures kind of at first, but they do have a very menacing look to them, which I think is really fun. Let's move to the outside of the house. So I think this is where this set really wins, frankly, because it's really imposing. It's this verticality that you get from lots of different angles and spires and spikes, which I think really, really works. I think this is a complete success, and it feels very film accurate to me. So I'm not going to go back and look at exact photos, but this really feels like they've captured the essence of it. This fountain with the snakes on it, very super cool, as well as this statue over here. So I think that's really fun. And the recessed doorway is such a nice touch. The fact that it opens inward, beckoning you inside, feels creepier than if it opened outwards in a more friendly, traditional fashion. So before we go inside, let's talk about these minifigures because they really are another area where this set is really standing out from others. You've got some unique things that we've never had before, and we've also got some repeats, which is fine, of course, but we also have them in such a way looking that they really set the scene in this particular time in the story, also in the movies. So, of course, you've got Voldemort, Lucius, you've got Draco, Bellatrix, Narcissa, Harry, Hermione, Luna, and then Dobby. And they look great, I have to say. We haven't seen Narcissa before ever, and I realized from looking at playback for this video that I kind of look like I've got like the little Narcissa swoop going on in my hair. So maybe that was a subconscious nod, right? which I think is really fun. So we've had these characters, a couple of them looking a little different in other versions. Interesting for me, Bellatrix now, this is the third one that I personally have, and she's always had a skirt before, and now suddenly she has pants. That's fine, it makes it more playable. I really like that. Narcissa looks fantastic. That mold is great. There's great detail. And I think that Dobby looks terrific also. I think it's really good. Another thing that I really love about this particular set is that all of these characters, with the exception of Voldemort and Dobby, actually have a second face printing so that you can enact different parts of the story, but also give them more expression. I think that's a really wonderful thing that LEGO does. I was not quite prepared for how beat up Harry looks, a little surprising for LEGO, but again, it just makes it really, really fun. Here's some stuff that I don't love. I don't love the fact that Harry's holding the golden snitch. There's no reason for it. It's not in the book. It's not in the movie. I don't get it. What is that about? That seems really weird to me. Also, they've all got their wands, which I guess they had, but I don't know. I feel like they were taken away from them. I get confused. And what really drives me crazy too is that Dobby is a little large, so a little off scale. I mean, we don't really worry about that too much in LEGO, but it would have been nice to have him a little bit tinier, a little bit more normal. We also have Nagini. So what's interesting here about Nagini is that Nagini's appeared several times with this particular mold, but as you can see, sometimes it changes color, and I get confused about why would we do that. We clearly have this particular mold ready to go. The thing that really bugs me about this kind of a mold for the snakes is that, unlike the older snakes that we used to get in LEGO sets, which allowed them to clip onto a base plate and stay in place, Nagini never does. So if you want to move your set around, or you're just trying to change where it is on the display, Nagini's always going to slide around and slide out of there, and that's really, really frustrating to me. A small thing, but again, these things add up. And in a set like this, where frustrations seemed to build upon each other, I would have taken the win if Nagini stuck in place. All right, let's move inside the house. Looking at the inside, there's a lot to take in at first glance. There's a lot going on, and I think visually, I think it's beautiful. I really do. I think it looks great, and there's a lot to look at, which is fun. I think the use of color is great. And it's just a really interesting thing that you want to dive into and have a look at. I know that people complain about the fact that it's not deep enough, and I have to agree with that. I would happily have spent a little bit more money to have it just be a little bit more fleshed out, a little bit fuller in the back, because I think that would have made it feel and look sturdier. But as it is, it actually is fairly sturdy. One of the play features here is the fact that these stairs move, and if you pick it up and move the set around, they actually stay in place. It's actually more sturdy than it looks. I don't know why we have these moving stairs. They're not an aspect, particularly in the stories or in the film. They don't play a major role, but it is a nice, kinetic element to it, which is good. There is a fun other play feature, which is the chandelier. So when you pull out this pin, you can enact that moment where the chandelier falls, which is really good, as you'll see in this video. If for kids for playing with it, it's a little bit tricky to maybe put it back together, but I think overall that's a really fun thing for sure. Another really fun aspect of this build is the hidden detail that you have, which is the dark mark, which is underneath the table. And if you remove the chair and the table, the chairs and the table, you actually can see the dark mark in the carpeting or in the flooring. So to me, I love this so much. This is one of my favorite things. I love the idea of putting together a mosaic to create something like this. And the piece usage is really clever here. It's one of the standouts in the build, really super enjoyable to do. Let's look at what else is in here. We're going to go from left to right. So on the left-hand side at the top, you have like a little reading nook, I guess. I'm not really sure who's going up there, but okay. Then you have what appears to be a bedroom, and I say that because it has the Slytherin bed covering on it, which is very much the same treatment that's used when we see the other kids' bedrooms, either at the Burrow or at Privet Drive, etc. So really cute. So obviously that's Draco's. And then on the bottom, you have what would be the holding cell, or this part of the dungeon from that part of the film when they're being held. In the center, you have the entryway. You also have the two gated doors. And then on the other side, you have down here, you've got a gated door for some reason that leads into the kitchen. I don't know why we would need a gate, but okay. The kitchen's cute. There's some really fun things in here. There's a nice sticker at the back that gives you a little bit more info. And for some reason, there's a lobster. This kind of annoyed me because the lobster doesn't play a part in the film. It's also almost as big as Dobby, which is terrifying, but that's nothing to be done about that. Above that, you have a bathroom, which I guess if I ever wanted to know what that style of toilet looked like, now I know. And then above that, you have a pipe organ. This pipe organ is a beautiful build, really economical, but really gives you that feeling of it. And this is my lead into my problem with the interior, which is if you're going to extrapolate about the way that the Malfoys live, I totally get that they would have a pipe organ. If you're going to do that, I totally understand why there's a bedroom. I get the holding cell, but give me something else. Why is there nothing in the interior of the entryway? One piece of armor, that'd have been cool. The reading area, okay, sure. Could have been cool if it was full of books or dusty volumes or arcane knowledge. And then also, instead of a bathroom, maybe couldn't it be great to like see like hoards of wealth or things that they've kept secret for all those years? That'd be really cool. And then in kitchen, okay, I'm not really concerned that they're going to eat. I get it because there's a dining room table and I think that's a play feature for kids. But it would have been so cool if there was like some kind of a potions lab or something like that that we could see. That'd be really interesting. Like, how are they creating all of the terrible things that they do? So that to me is just, it's frustrating. It's a misuse of the space, I think, overall. But otherwise, I do, when I was building it, I really didn't mind that it was shallow. I just miss the things that could have been in there. Tough decision to make, I know. There is also this center fireplace, which really plays a centerpiece in this build. And it's interesting the way that it's built. It looks beautiful, for sure, but it's also built on the outside and the inside together as you're building it up in several pieces. So the steps come together, but it really creates this wonderful structure that actually helps to hold the center together. So I think that's a huge win. There was a little bit of a misprint, though, in my instruction booklet. One of the pieces was colored very strangely in one versus the other step, but was able to figure it out. But it did throw me for a loop for a second. So the most frustrating part about this build was when putting it together. Normally I like to just really zone out and kind of trust the process and let everything work in a sort of order out of chaos. And there were a couple of moments here where the build wasn't as efficient as I thought it could be, or it wasn't as strong as I thought it could be, and it really took me out of the enjoyment of the moment. And there's a couple of big pieces I'm going to show you. Number one is when you're building this colonnade at the beginning. The top dark gray pieces don't have studs on top. They're smooth. So normally you would use those if you was a play feature, for example, and you needed to move them out of the way, or they're not aligned with the bricks that are going to go on top. In this case, neither of those things are true, so they're just loose, and I don't know why they are. So it made me question what was happening, and because normally that's a play feature function, I kept thinking, did I build something wrong? Am I missing something? But no, that's just the way it is. It also makes this roof, as you're building up, kind of loose. So before you get a little further in the build, that part of the roof is actually held in place by placing some other elements later, but not immediately. So when you're picking this build up to turn it back and forth as you're building it, it feels kind of loose. So I didn't like that feeling. Again, now it's quite solid, but going through the build, it felt like it wasn't. And I think if you're a first-time builder, that might not be a really fun thing for you. You might be feeling frustrated by that. The other thing that made me frustrated was the fact that it seemed like in places they had just eliminated bricks entirely. And if that was to save money, okay, I totally respect that. But it made it feel like, did I miss a step? Because they were obviously missing. There's a section on the bottom at the back on both sides where you can see through. And in fact, you just never fill that in. It's hidden from the front, but it's still empty. And again, it would have been just 2 more bricks would have totally solved that, and I wouldn't have thought about it anymore. The same thing happens at the top of each spire. There's also a 1 by 1 brick would have filled a space where there's just no brick and it's visible. I don't understand why we don't get that brick. There's also some rounded pieces here in the center of these towers to make these cutouts, these pieces that stick out, I should say. But there's no reason that the part at the front needs to also be rounded. So you have this hole in the side of the building that looks like something's missing. So these aren't the end of the world, but they were really frustrating as I was building it because I worried as an experienced builder that I had missed a step or I had done something wrong. And I don't like to be taken out of the process like that. I wanted to just enjoy it. So not to not to say this too many times, but it didn't feel magical to me. Okay. All right, so the final verdict. Well, let's pretend that we're sorting this set into one of two houses. One is you got to have it. The other is just give it a pass. All right. So let's look at the different elements. The minifigures are clearly the standout here. You've got a unique minifigure in Narcissa, and they overall look great, and there's a lot of them. So they really help tell a story, and they're super fun for collectors. The house itself, I think, is a beautiful facade. And so if you are planning to display this, and as part of your display it's going to look terrific, that's great. If you already have Hogwarts Castle scale things, this would fit next to it beautifully. You've got enough room on the shelf is what I mean. But if you were looking for a play experience that's going to withstand maybe really using the set and giving you value in that way, I think it's going to be a miss for you because there's not a lot to do and it's maybe a little flimsy and maybe a little bit difficult to put together if you're a younger builder. And so for me, it's one of those things, if you're a completionist, if you want to have everything, then definitely get it. There's definitely things in here for you. If you are just looking to pass time and you're a Harry Potter fan, I would probably invest that money in something else. So all in all, this set might leave you feeling a little imperious. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. Let me know what you think in the comments. I would really love to hear your ideas about this set and your thoughts about it. Maybe I've overlooked something, or maybe I missed something that makes it even more interesting. I'd be happy to hear. As always, please leave a comment, even if it's just the words Harry Potter in there. I would love to have that. Like and subscribe if you can. And remember, we're always here to talk about LEGO and have a good time, build and bond together. My favorite part of doing these is doing them with you. So whether you have this LEGO set or are thinking about it, whether you have any LEGO sets, remember, you got this. See you next time.